Here we have another kind of tax called the proportional or flat tax. Okay? Under a flat tax, what you have is the same percentage is going to be charged to all people for everything they do. And so this is considered by most economists to be the most fair. And what you're still going to get is that the rich are still going to pay more than the poor. Okay? Under this system, your tax rate is 10% of everything you make. And you can set it at 8% or 12% or whatever it is, but it is a flat tax, you can see. It's very flat. But what this means is that someone making 20% or $20,000 would pay 10%. So they're going to make a $2,000 tax payment. They're going to lose 10%. And if they were to make $200,000, they would lose 10%, and it would be $20,000. So you can see that the person who's poor is paying a lot less than the person who is rich. And someone making $1 million would pay 10%, and they would be $100,000. So you can see that under a flat tax, it doesn't mean that everyone pays the same amount of tax. What it means is that they pay the same percentage no matter how much they make. So if they make more money, they will pay far more in taxes than someone else who's poorer. So in this case, the percentage stays the same all the way across. The reason economists like this is because of our good friend, the incentive system. It has an incentive for productivity, because under this system, how do you make money? You work. And if you want to make more money, you work more. And there's no punishment for how hard you work, because no matter how much you work, they're taking the same percentage. So then work becomes a level of how much do you want, as opposed to trying to game the system of how much does the government take, and can I go to this place to get away from taxes, and if I don't work here, but I work under the table, like there's all these kind of ways to beat taxes, because that's what people do. They are incentivized to find the way that best helps them. They're always going to do that. And so if you design your tax in a way that doesn't hurt them in any form, then and doesn't help them in any level here either, they're just going to work, because that's how this functions. Now you might argue that for the poorest of the poor, you might have to do something different. And so you could have some sort of graduated tax like this, like, from $0 to $1,000, you only pay 1%. And from 1,000 to 5,000, you pay 2%. And from 5,000 to 10,000, you pay 3%. And you do this kind of thing, and you're working it up until right around, like, I don't know, 30,000, 20,000, 50, whatever it is you pick. At some point there, once you reach that, it caps at the 10% and then goes out. So you can still have something like this. In fact, Milton Friedman, that famous economist, recommended that this is actually the most fair system. A flat tax out here, and then at the very poorest levels, you have some graduated, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It works its way up to the 10%, and then it flattens out at some level. 30,000, 40,000, we'll pick like that, okay? So it can still have that thing at the lower levels where it's not hurting the poor as much, and after that, you just have no disincentives for the people who are rich. So if this was $1 billion from Jeff Bezos or something, he would pay 10%, and he would be a lot more than Mr. Haight is paying. All right? So the rich would still pay far more than the poor under this system, but it would be proportionally the same. It wouldn't exponentially ramp up, and they just then quit or move out or that kind of thing. Okay? The second advantage to this type of system, it is by far the easiest system to pay your taxes. It generally takes me 3 to 5 days to pay my taxes. I have to fill out 12 to 20 forms from the government, and the only reason it takes me 3 to 5 days is because I have a degree in economics and I've done it so many times that I've become a semi-pro at it. Okay, for most people it would take them 2 weeks to a month, and so they go to H&R Block and they have to pay $200 to $500, to get your taxes done, and so you can send it in. So that's a huge burden on the American people, all that money just paying taxes for processing forms. This could be done on a postcard. How much did you make? 20,000. You write down 2,000 for tax and you send it in. Or you just have the government take the 10% out as you go and you never have to file taxes. It just says paid. You just get an email from the IRS. You're done. Okay? Or it'll ask you any other income to report. No. Okay, you're done. Now, who doesn't like this? Two groups. The tax accountants, obviously, because this whole multi-million-dollar industry of processing pieces of paper would go away. We'd do something more efficient. It wouldn't just be the end of the world for tax accountants on the street. We'll help you with taxes for food or something. No. People would need a shift into more efficient places to work, and we would be better off for that. Because what are we getting with pushing papers around? That's not a productive thing, right? Okay. Second group that really wouldn't like this is Congress. And you're probably asking yourself, well, if this is so fair, why don't we do it? Almost no country on the planet does it because the legislators would then not be able to hand out political favors. So all the earmarks and riders, all the pork barrel politics, all the log rolling that they do, the things we cover in civics class, there would be no tax favors, no goodies to hand out, because if everyone has to pay 10%, what are you going to do? You can't give a favor to except for my favorite pharmaceutical company, they don't have to pay 10%. There's no favors to hand out. There's no tax bonuses. There's no crony capitalism. So unfortunately, almost no country on the planet has a flat tax, because that way their politicians and elite class wouldn't be able to hand out favors to people. They wouldn't be able to cheat, basically. So unfortunately, that's why most tax systems include both progressive and regressive taxation at the same time. Some of the notable exceptions to this would be Singapore. They come up a lot, don't they? Have had flat taxes or proportional taxes in most cases for most years. Russia is also an interesting one. They went with this for quite some time, a flat or proportional tax. Okay? So there are some interesting countries out there that employ this. There's a few of them, but most do not. And America is one of them. We do not do this at all. Okay? So it would be most economists' dream if we were to do this for taxation, but because of the political ramifications, there's no corruption to be done, we don't do it.